The UK local elections are here, and right on cue, the right-wing media machine has gone into full attack mode. This time, the target is the Green Party. But what started as another routine TalkTV takedown quickly turned into something very different. Because when Julia Hartley-Brewer tried to corner Green Party activist Ashok Kumar with a series of accusations, the entire narrative began falling apart live on air. Before we dive into the full story, comment where you're watching from, and don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. What happened next was honestly difficult to watch for all the wrong reasons. Instead of landing the political hit she was aiming for, Julia ended up scrambling for evidence she couldn't even produce, and the interview completely slipped out of her control.
Let's talk about issues. Because one thing I think we can all agree is a big story is the fact that we are seeing a massive increase in physical and verbal attacks on Jews in this country. The stabbing of 2 Jewish men by an alleged suspect currently who's already been charged, believed to be an Islamist attack, has caused great concern. We've been big summits in Downing Street, and we're going to be fast-tracking hate crime prosecutions and the like. Now, there's no doubt at all there is a problem of anti-Semitism within the Green Party, because the Green Party itself is investigating no less than 30 candidates who have been publicly identified as having posted or said or written blatantly anti-Semitic things, calling Jews vermin, rats, celebrating the October 7th massacre, suggesting that Hamas are, resistance fighters. I mean, you are a Green Party activist. You say, let's talk about the issues. Is it an issue if you support a party and a party has as much support as the Green Party has garnered in recent months, which is basically siding with Islamist extremists and anti-Semites and is putting up candidates in local elections who are blatantly, outrageously, disgustingly racist against Jews?
Okay, so firstly, we have over 4,500 candidates. We've gone from a party 6 months ago that was 60,000 to now having 230,000. And so, yeah, of course, needs to be a more thorough vetting process. But it's not that those 30 candidates are being investigated for anti-Semitism. They're being investigated for a series of comments, some of them racist, some of them sexist, or the accusations of that. They haven't been found guilty of that. And a large proportion of them are guilty of being critical of the state of Israel. Some of them, of course, are anti-Semitic, but a lot of them aren't. I think,
but no one's being investigated for being critical of Israel.
That's not true. That's not true. The list was released by a Labor dossier this morning. I'm sure you've seen it, and they are, for example, retweeting the Bob Dylan lyrics about death to the IDF. I'm sorry, Julia, but that's not a crime. We're allowed to criticize and even call for the death of a foreign army. If I said death to the IRGC, should that be criminalized? If I said death to the Russian army, should that be criminalized? Should I be deselected as a Labor candidate or a Reform candidate?
The vast majority of these candidates are being investigated for, I wouldn't even say alleged. They have written on their public posts in social media or stated at public rallies on video, including, by the way, the deputy leader, Mohsen Ali, who's, by the way, suggesting a lot of these people should be taking legal action. Some of the things that he has said and he has posted are highly questionable as well. Why do you support a party which has such a problem with anti-Semitism?
Look, as I've already said,
you think it doesn't?
There's a lot of conflation here. A lot of them don't. Some of them do. So I don't think that those 30 candidates out of 4,500 is an indication. This is, I think also last week, for example, Labor put out this advertisement that said, that was Ofcom pulled down, that said, had a person read out all these tweets that by different Reform candidates that were racist or sexist or whatever. I don't think that's an indication necessarily of what Reform believes. I think this sort of cherry picking, and I don't think, do you think that therefore that makes Reform a racist and sexist organization? Surely not. I think we should treat this in the same way. I think there are parties that have platforms, and those platforms are the policies upon which we run on. Individuals who may have tweeted things years ago out of a massive list of candidates, I think that is not an accurate representation of the party. And I think I would say the same thing for Labour. I'd say the same thing for
I
Reform.
think when it continues to happen again and again and again, and you're saying it's a vetting problem, why do, again, you could argue, why do those people think that the Green Party is the home for them?
Do you think that Reform is a racist and sexist party because of the dossier that was released by Labour last week and their advertising?
But I think they do have a problem.
Why is it one rule? Why is it one rule for Reform and one rule for... No, but I didn't say the Green Party was anti-Semitic. I said you've got a problem with anti-Semitism. It's a different thing, isn't it? I don't think there's a problem with anti-Semitism. I think that a small proportion of candidates who've said things in the past, they're being now investigated.
There are questions about
candidates is an indication.
There are questions about the likes on posts and the retweeting of posts from not only Zach Polansky, but also both deputy leaders as well. That would suggest there is an issue.
Tell me specifically.
There are so many pieces of paper in front of me.
There's so many.
I'll message you afterwards, but you will have seen them.
I want to know. Please inform your viewers. I haven't seen them. I'd like to know which leaders have
absolutely plenty of them. I'm desperately trying to find them right now. Well, I will. I'm
literally in the edge of my seat, Julia, waiting for you to give us this vital breaking news. The anti-Semites are running the party.
I'm held back by the fact I can't actually leave through things with plaster on my fingers, but there we are.
Oh no.
Well, these are issues. Can I talk about some other policies, for the love of God? Please, Ashok. Please. We've got very little time. I mean, other policies. One of the things I'm asking our audience is about, has the bubble burst, not just because Zach Polansky is actually facing some daylight. He's no longer being treated like he's a sort of Labrador who's just come in from a long walk and is cuddling up and want to tell us about his policies. The anti-Semitism allegations, the problems on that are being looked at, but also some of the more radical policies. Lots of people might love the idea of a wealth tax on 1% on assets above 10 million. But people also understand that in countries that have done these things, you see the wealthy leave and you don't end up making any more money. Net zero carbon electricity by 2030, 70% from wind. That means we're going to be sitting in the dark. A £15 an hour minimum wage for all ages means no one's going to be hiring a 16 or 17-year-old at all. And lots of businesses will simply go under because they can't afford even the current minimum wage and national insurance increase. Legalising heroin, decriminalising drug possession, legalising prostitution, open border policy and giving people a house if they come here, and no deportations. A 4-day working week with a 5-day pay power. No, none of this is remotely workable or affordable. Isn't it the case that a lot of people, they want to vote against the existing parties? They feel let down, understandably, by the Tories and by Labour. But actually, the Greens haven't actually had to deliver on a workable manifesto because they've never had a chance of being elected. Now they're finally getting scrutiny. They're getting exposed for, frankly, a load of nonsense.
I don't know how I can respond to all that. But yeah, look, I think that what we've currently have happened in this country, which is austerity and the depression of wages, has not benefited the economy. We keep talking about growth, that growth model, and the IMF came out and said this 2 years ago. We had the lowest growth of the G20, lower than Russia. And so the program of the Tories and Labour of cutting benefits, cutting the state, cutting increases in wages, not boosting wages, that's not actually good. It doesn't entice capitalists to come here and invest. It actually depresses wages and depresses demand. Policies like increasing the minimum wage, and we see this in studies like the famous Carden-Kruger study in 1996 from the US that said you increase the minimum wage, you see more circulation of capital at the lowest rung, and you actually see the boosting of the economy and more employment,
only
not less employment, which is counterintuitive. So I can't address every single point that you're making, but all I can say is that poll after poll shows that under 65-year-olds in this country, the Greens are winning.
They are doing well. Unfortunately, they're also the group of people, particularly young people, who don't actually bother turning out to vote. We shall see what happens.
You honestly couldn't script a collapse like that if you tried. The paper shuffling, the panic, the scrambling for evidence that never appeared. It was the perfect example of a media narrative falling apart live on air. And that's what made this moment so devastating. Ashok Kumar didn't just sit there and play defense. He pushed back, exposed the double standards, and forced Julia Hartley-Brewer to actually back up the claims she was throwing around. The moment she was asked for specifics, everything completely unraveled. Whether you agree with the Greens or not, one thing became very clear in this interview. If you're going to make serious accusations on national television, you'd better come prepared with receipts. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next one.